Welcome to Invincipod, probably the best podcast about the show Invincible on the internet. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we are back. It has actually been a full week since we did an episode. And we are here to talk about episode 5 of season 3. This was supposed to be easy.
Right.
This was a fun episode that felt directly from the comics. It felt like I said. I'll tell you right off the bat. The thing that I said to Liz after we finished watching it last night was, this episode gives me the confidence that they are in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
because they set some stuff up in this. There's like nothing to do with the Viltrumites in this, and it felt like they were just like, yeah, we got time. We're in no hurry. We can tell this. And like if they were pushing it to like get through it all like quickly, they would cut this. This is a cuttable episode. This, and I think we said it about like the Titan episode in season 1, because that was the last time we saw Titan. Really, was season 1.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it, and this stuff will pay off down the line one day. You know, we're in no hurry.
Stevie asked me after the episode was done. She's like, "So what'd you think of that episode?" I said, "It was fine. I'd like to see Nolan. I'm ready to see the Invincible War. I'm ready to see Angstrom. I'm ready to see all that." But I'm like, in the comics, I always liked Invincible Inc.
Yeah,
as a concept.
It was fun. It doesn't last all that long, really, in the grand scheme of things. No. I mean, I say that it probably could be like 50 issues. I can't really remember, but like it doesn't feel like it, because that
the bigger stuff.
Like
it's the small potatoes.
Invincible Inc. sort of is happening while Mark Grayson is off doing other stuff as well a lot of the time.
Yeah. But you're right. Like, I'm sure people may see this episode and be like, get back to Nolan. I think even on the previously on, it showed like Nolan and Alan. And I'm like, I feel like you're right. Like, this is what Invincible is.
Yeah.
A million stories going on at once, and you don't get to pick and choose which one you get.
It's why we, as like, we're big fans of Invincible, but like we forget characters. Like we forget villains who are like pretty major for that episode or that issue. But like we'll forget about them because the show doesn't like focus on them all the time, and it feels more natural. Like you're not going to be hitting the same 3 guys the same every episode every week. Yeah. Like that gets boring.
But you're right; they're not shying away from this kind of stuff, which leads me to believe they know how much time they have. They probably have all seasons worked out by now.
I hope so.
And I feel like, because we got 2 more that we know of.
We're 5. No, we got full 8. We got full. Oh, what seasons? Yeah, 1 more confirmed.
Yeah, we know.
I think 1 more confirmed, maybe 2 more.
Yeah, I think we originally were told season 3 and 4 are coming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say after this next season,
5.
We'll get a 5 if it's not already in the mix.
They might have already said 5. I'm not sure.
But I feel like with this pacing, 7 seasons might do it.
Yeah, like because Liz was sort of saying, she was like, so like how much of the comic have they done? Right? And how long did it run? Like how long was it? And I was like, it's 140 something issues, and we're right on the cusp of issue 50 in terms of it. So we're about a third of the way through.
Yeah.
And that, with everything that's
9
happening,
seasons.
Like
9 seasons in a movie.
9 would be a lot. I don't know if it would go 9, but like 6 seasons in a movie, so like 6, 7.
Well, I mean, we are halfway through this. We're more than halfway through this season, so you're talking 50-ish issues on the halfway mark. We still have like 3 more episodes to go.
Yeah, we're on 5, so 3 more episodes this season.
So so like I read Green Lantern, right? And I have a bunch of like the DC Archives Green Lantern, like these old Silver Age
I remember.
I have they've made 7 of these. One of these days, I hope an 8th will come out. But the story in this is an alien crash lands on Earth and gives a man the power in a ring to do whatever he wants, including flying into space. And the like majority of that first book is Green Lantern fighting bank robbers, gangsters, and it's like, dude, let's get to the space stuff because we know it's out there.
It's
and so getting a sort of earthbound ground level just like street level villain in this episode, I'm like, I'm getting antsy. I'm getting antsy.
I want it.
Because we're like, because Mark can withstand a lot.
Yeah.
We've seen him withstand more than like Titan. I feel like Titan shouldn't be this big of a threat. But
he was an early threat for Mark, though. Like he was quite a big deal early on, and that, I mean, it was with Titan and everything that we got Battle Beast. That was when we first met all of those guys. So he was an early threat for Mark, and so it's one of those ones that sort of sticks in his head. I think it's like, that guy got the best of me, and so that's why it sort of sticks in his craw. And also he was deceived by him. It wasn't just a straight up beating. He outsmarted Mark. And so to have that happen again, pretty much, is like he is a bigger fish than anyone really gives him credit for because he's smart.
This is all part of this setup of Mark on his own and his morals, like him not siding with Cecil and what Cecil's doing, him having to kill Immortal in the future, like making a tough decision. And then in this one, it's playing with, here's a guy that's doing good for the community and the community is good. He just happens to be a criminal. It's basically like Cecil. You know, it's like, what do I do? Like, and really the only person he talks to about this now is Eve.
Yeah.
Whereas he would talk to his mom about it and his mom would talk to him in a very certain way. And Eve's not really trying to push anything on him, but really trying to like talk him through, like he wants nothing to do with Titan, but he's like, but I mean, they're all bad. This guy is just happens to be like the least bad because he's helping the community.
It's where you draw the line. It's an awkward one. I really like the performance of Titan. I really like what they do and sort of the expanding on him there and seeing him in the community and everything. I think that's really good. It allows for moments like when Mark is teleported in through the fight and they've all got his back. Like he's got his boys around and they're all wearing the same hoodie and everything like that. And then Mark pulls the hood down and then the guy gets to play the race card a bit on him. And it's just like, it feels pressing. It feels like very of the moment. It feels like very like almost ACAB-y sort of, where it's just like these superheroes and the cops are just going in and indiscriminately rounding them up because they're the wrong type of people. Is sort of whereas it's like, fuck, that's not cool. Like, don't be doing that. Like, but he's good for, like, he does seem to be good for the community. Titan does seem to be good for that local community. Everyone likes him, and it's not because he's threatening them. Like, you could have that scene at the beginning with his daughter and the guy's giving him the nod and the guy's giving them the coffee and things in the morning. Like, you could have that and it'd be very godfathery, where it's like, you know that they're doing that because they've got this respect built out of fear. Whereas I think he's got respect out of I'm looking out for you guys. Like, I'm not going to mess with your business, but I'm just going to make sure that we're all safe. And I like that. I think he's a really good. I mean, I struggle to even call him a villain. Like, he's a really good, morally. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard because he is a villain, but there's a lot worse out there.
According to the Guarding the Globe video game, he is in the criminal class.
Yeah, he's a criminal, definitely a criminal, but he's not. I wouldn't. Yeah, villain and criminal, I think are two different things. Yeah, Lucha Johnny mentions an anti-hero. I'd struggle. I wouldn't even necessarily call him an anti-hero. I think he's sort of he's just a criminal.
Yeah, I mean, he is looking out for his own thing. Mostly, it seems like he wants the city to be safe, so his daughter has somewhere that's safe to live in.
He's a good dad.
Yeah,
He's by all accounts, it's like he's there, and like the fear on his face when Mr. Leo first threatens his family, threatens his daughter. When he rushes in to his apartment and everything there, he seems genuinely scared for his daughter's safety. And like he's vulnerable in that way, and he knows it.
And as an audience watching a show that we know will hold no punches,
yeah,
like,
I mean,
I'm also very concerned. You're waiting for that other shoe to drop, and I mean, luckily it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I hate to see what Titan is like if it does, and probably when it does.
I mean, that's when he would go like full villain, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you talk about the show not pulling any punches, like the beginning of the episode with Paul's attempted breakout.
Dude,
that is grim.
Not in the book.
Not in the book that I remember, anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point did you clock what he was doing? Like, how many were in there when you sort of realized?
There was a few.
Yeah,
there was a few.
I thought they're gonna like all just try and shoulder barge it, but then
like, as soon as it got up into the ceiling, and you just hear the sound,
yeah,
and you're just like, oh, he's gonna pop this door.
Yeah. He's just going to sacrifice as many as he needs to.
And they're all on board with, like, they all are. It's a hive mind, I guess. I don't know how it works. It's crazy that he can create multiples of him pretty much out of thin air. But once they're created, they don't go away. Nope. Just piles and piles and piles of bodies. I almost feel like
I think we've seen it like early on with Kate. I think she sort of reabsorbs them back in.
Oh yeah.
Like, so if they're still alive, I feel like she can, like, the way that they sort of step out from each other, I think she can sort of like step back in. Maybe I might be making that up, but I think we saw that.
Maybe, but it seems like when they're dead,
when they're dead, they're just
which would be great for like organ donor, you know.
Yeah, but it really makes you realize how hard it is to catch someone like that. Because like once he's out, he just needs to leave a dupe somewhere else. Like, just leave, like Kate did. Have a safe house. Just go and lock one of them up somewhere.
We saw that with the aftermath of him versus Eve. She locks up what she thought was the last one, and then another one steps in the frame.
Scurries away. Yeah.
That Eve fight was great. Like, I love the multi-paul, like, parkour. And him jumping off the constructs and then leap into one, split out into another one in the other direction. Like, it was really, really cool.
He was doing it with his escape as well at the beginning when he was like bouncing off the walls. It was one of those moments where I was like, I could see Simu Liu doing this stuff. Like, it felt like the action in Shang-Chi, where he's like, there's a lot of martial arts to the way he fights, but he's sort of rolling off of himself. But yeah, it's great. It was really, really fun, really creative way of doing a fight when you can just keep on making dupes.
Multipole in the book, I feel like, is nothing. Like, there's no importance to him.
He's around for a little bit, but not much. Yeah.
I'm assuming that, Kirkman came up with a name and just put him in the book.
It's hilarious. Like, when you've got duplicate and multiple, it's brilliant. It's so good.
So he's being used. The importance of him is interesting. I want to know why these guys want him out so bad.
I feel like he was around for a few issues, and it was doing stuff with like the Order and Mr. Liu and that in books, but it's all of these issues, and it's the same with the show. It feels like the street level stuff as much as you can have street level stuff with this, when we know that there is the much, much bigger things out there, and they are just around the corner.
They put him in the game this last week.
Oh, cool.
And he is not elite, so he's just like rare. So he's not like in the game. He's treated more like in the books, where it's just like a guy. But so is Oliver. Oliver's now in the game too.
Oh, cool.
And he is also just rare. He's not elite. But I wonder if that's something they'll change.
Maybe. Or is it a case of like they kind of want people to level him up so that as
Maybe.
you're leveling up, he's sort of growing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate. Stevie says Kate is a rare too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. They're on the same sort of level. Mr. Liu, very cool villain. Love the design of the jaw and the way that it works, and then him just becoming a full-on dragon is excellent stuff. I like that his body is vulnerable at all times, even though he's doing that. That's why why he's got such an enormous bodyguard, literally bodyguard. Yeah. I thought that was really fun. I'm glad that he's still alive. At the end, we see him sort of resurrected, it seems. Really, really fun. But Isotope is just such a shit.
Again.
Like, just constantly, like, and the way that it works throughout the episode where you think that he's betrayed and then you realize he's not betrayed Titan, but he has betrayed Mr. Liu again, or Machine Head again. It's like the back and forth. It's like you never know where this guy's allegiance is because he doesn't have an allegiance. He's only there. He'll just grab on to whoever's gonna win. Like he's that sort, and that's the perfect like henchman. It's sort of that number 2 in the chair sort of thing.
Yeah. Johnny brings up Machine Head. He says he simultaneously loves and hates Machine Head's vocal modulation effect.
His auto cueing or his auto tuning. Like, yeah,
I think I have two minds. I love it because I think it's really fun and makes the character silly. Mm-hmm. But he's so over the top and he's such an asshole and he's so like grimy and he's very he's off-putting.
Yeah.
His voice is very off-putting. And so to put the auto tune on top of it, it makes him extra like just
punchable. You hear that auto tune voice and you're like, oh, like
especially when he really like plays it up.
Yeah, he leans into
it. Becomes very sing-songy in his deliveries. It's just like, I just hate you.
I hate it.
So yeah, I hate it.
Always a bigger thumb was a great line from Machine Head in this.
Yeah. But I think it's a really good way to make me hate a character. Is that
absolutely? Yeah.
It's so like I'm ready for him to just
his line about missing his computer class. How else is he going to learn Microsoft Word and go get a fucking office job? I'm just like, oh, that's great. That's good stuff because that's the prison industrial complex right there.
Yeah. Did you notice at the beginning how Mark cut his pancakes?
Yeah, just like a bit off the top, like just on one pancake at a time.
It was that thing where, you know, those videos where people post things that are just like supposed to give you anxiety. It was like that. So instead of like just cutting a circle, he like cut a triangle like off to the side.
Yeah,
like off center.
Ed, friend of the show, Ed has done this before with a pizza. Like he'll get a pizza and he will get a pizza cutter, and instead of doing slices like a normal sane human, he'll just be like, just like take a wedge out of it. I'm like, I hate this. I hate this so much. Like you're a psychopath. Like
Mark did that, and I'm assuming it was a because he cut a wedge out of not where the circle parted. Like it's
weird.
Should have screenshotted it, but
it was the most psychotic thing that happened in this episode.
Everybody knows what's going on with Eve and Mark in the room.
Love it.
They try to hide it.
Debbie is so good. Debbie's so nice and supportive. I feel like she figured it out straight away last episode. Oliver is the perfect younger brother who's just like both intentionally and unintentionally throwing Mark and Eve under the bus. He and Debbie playing it cool, trying to be all nice and like, what a nice surprise. Don't worry, there's already a plate laid up for you and everything. It's really, really sweet. And her smirk, it's pitch perfect.
It's like
That
she
whole
was
scene was fun.
defeating Invincible by
Mhm.
talking about sex while hugging him, which is weird.
Yeah.
But got him to clean the house and leave.
The scene where Mark and Oliver are kicking each other before Eve starts talking, she's just sat there with her mug of coffee, and it's one of those like moments when they can save some money by not animating her because she's just sat there like still, but it works so well because she's got this like locked eyes where she's just like staring off into the middle distance and
Tuning it out.
she's just like dying inside, and it's really really fun. It's perfect 19-year-old like relationship situation.
Stevie says she's an Isotope fan. I don't think I knew that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were in San Francisco recently, but like I've never been to Isotope Comics, but I would like to because I hear it's a great shop.
Yeah. Lucha Johnny says Eve felt like a lantern this episode.
For sure. During the prison fight when she is sort of making constructs. She's like, and she became a weapon herself. Like she became like a mace kind of thing, or like the head of a mace for Mark to swing and to use. I thought that was great. Like they're so in sync with each other and they know each other's powers and everything.
Stevie clarifies that only because she accidentally made him powerful in the game before anybody else.
Great.
It's like me with Ray.
Yeah, you just picked that one obscure character that you just sort of go in on.
They kind of give you a lot of, and you're like, oh, I'm able to build this person up. Oh, they're actually useful in a fight.
And because it's not one of like the main characters, you're more likely to get more of them.
Yeah.
Speaking
of Ray.
Yeah.
Kind of has a date with Rex.
This again was so sweet. This is I'm pretty sure this is all a show invention. Like,
it is.
I mean, and it's done so well. Rex is such a better character in the show than he was in the books. At this point in the books, like he was around, he was still there, he was still on the team, but he'd kind of arced out a little bit. Like he'd broken up with Eve, he'd been a dick, he's now just a member of the team. He'd saved the day a couple of times, he was fine, but he was just there. Whereas now he's a main character. We do follow him and we are seeing a full arc from him. We're seeing him try to be a much better person, and doing a great job of it. Super sweet.
I don't know where this is going, and again, it's giving me hope, but that I feel like is going to be ripped out from under us.
I think that's probably more like it. I feel like we know Kirkman enough that they're building this up so that someone's gonna have some tragedy. I mean, maybe it'll be Rex that gets killed or something. I don't know. Who knows? It's the same sort of thing. Like when we were watching the episode, obviously we know the way that this all goes, but when Mark and Eve are having their conversation on the roof at the end of the episode, and they're talking about slowing it down, it's just sort of like, all right, we were probably going a bit quick with the whole apartment thing. Liz just said to me, because I think she thought Mark was going to propose or something stupid like that. But she's like, oh, they're going to end up divorced. That's just like, well, I'm not going to say anything. Like I'm keeping stum because we know how that story goes.
But it is fun. Like you even reading the book, you feel really cynical about everything. Like I really don't think that Ray and Rex are. I feel like it's going to be bad. I thought that Titan's daughter was going to be killed and his wife was going to be killed. His wife's sitting there counting money. And it's like something's going to happen. So watching the show, you feel real cynical. Which is, fun because last week we were talking about Oliver and him like we don't know. He's a loose cannon. And
we see some
Mark
of it this
feels
week.
the same way.
And
Debbie feels the same way, and he sneaks out at night. And I was shocked that he was like on his best behavior. Like,
It's
they're really playing it up.
you see why. Like, we've been introduced to why that fear is totally valid. But
Yeah.
to see that Oliver has gone out and he's made friends and he's just skateboarding like a kid. He's just having a nice time as a kid. And he is defending himself, he and his friends. But he has learned to hold back when it's necessary. Like, he knows what the difference is between a bully and a bad guy. He doesn't know
Yeah.
necessarily that if it's a real bad guy that you can't just indiscriminately kill, but he knows the difference between these like asshole kids and the Mauler twins.
Yeah.
So he beats them. He beats them like just by pantsing them, and it's like that's all he needs. But Mark is there watching, and I feel like Mark's like he's ready to step in if it was ever going to get out of hand. But I'm glad that Eve was there because she was able to hold it back and just be like, have some faith in your little brother. You're doing a great job
Yeah.
here. Have some faith that that is rubbing off. The brother dynamic between the two of them, I really enjoyed this week because when Mark was talking about leaving around the dinner table at the beginning, he like I've been that little brother when like my brother moved out. He was really young when he moved out, but I've been that little brother and just be like, oh, there's like my hero at the time. Like it was very much, and it was exactly the same conversation. It's like I'm not going far. Like I'll still see you all the time, and I remember that being the case for a little while, and then it drifts apart, and then he was working away, and so I didn't see him for a long time, and but then I can see it from the other side where you're like, I don't want to be around doing this all the time.
Yeah.
But then at the end, when he's there and he's looking out for him, he's like, I'm not going anywhere. And it's like, no, he understands the responsibility of being the older brother in a single parent house as well, and
Right.
different circumstances as well. It's like that he does have a bit more of responsibility there.
Yeah.
I wish them well. I hope that it goes better than my relationship with my own brother.
I mean, it's yeah. It's again, I feel cynical. I feel like I'm just waiting for that other shoe to drop with Oliver.
Yeah.
Like, and now we've seen two sides of him. It is funny that the kids were like the friends were just like totally cool with him being purple. When they saw that he has superpowers, they're like, "Oh,
hey,
he's got superpowers."
But it's like they're not scared of him. They are just like, "Hey, come on, play fair." And it's like they treat him like a person, and
they're almost pushing him to be normal.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, do your tricks, no powers," and he struggles with that, but he figures it out, and it's like,
but they're encouraging when he falls as well. Like it's so good. It's positive reinforcement from kids and from friendships and stuff. It's like it's nice
because he's not human at all.
No,
and so how is he? How
he's
is he supposed to
not
be
nearly as old as they are? He's been alive for a matter of months. Like,
but does that make him like wiser? Because he's, as far as Thraxons go, he is
the
more
oldest one has ever been. Like, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's the biology of like half Thrax and half Viltrumite. Like, there's no human in him at all. Like, he's all of his human is through nurture. His nature is not that. So he's a great character. I know exactly what you mean about the feeling unsettled and waiting for the other shoe to drop with him, and that's not gonna go away. Like, that feeling, I think, sticks around for the entire series. Like, it's always there. It's always in the back of my mind. I'm just like, oh, don't ever fully trust Oliver. But love him as a character. I think he's a really, really great character.
Yeah, there it is.
I think I timed that nicely to make my point.
It's so funny. I can probably get it turned down, but it's fine.
I like it. I like it.
It's funny that it happened right at the 30-minute mark, which means we started.
We started bang on time.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The Order. We get to see the Order at the end of the episode. We'd heard mention of them throughout this entire episode. They're just like this mysterious The Order. And I'd forgotten a lot about them. I've forgotten most of their names, but as soon as the one name drop that we got I was like, oh, yeah, no, remember that name and remember how much I love slaying Mantis.
Yeah.
What a fantastic name. Like, I feel like The Order just was... Kirkman had scribbled down names of villains and they went, oh, we're never going to go hard and use them all, but they're too good of silly, fun pun names to not use them. Otley go wild, just draw up some designs, and this is what we got.
Yeah. I like that they're all mixed match. They're all weirdos. One of them looks like they're from He-Man. There's a giant, like, weird sort of Clive Barker style monster man. Like, Jeremy Kelly says Insomniac is insane. Yeah, with the eyes. Yeah. So now we have the Order in the mix, which I'm assuming there's enough there for the new teen team to fight.
So I mean, if they're smart, Eve and Mark will just sort of like bring those guys on and just be like, fuck it, we don't need the GDA. We can have Invincible Inc. as an alternate option for people to use.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm ready to get into Angstrom.
Yeah,
which I think we're gonna get. I
think we're getting it this season. Definitely, I think we're definitely getting it this season.
Didn't we see some alternate Invincibles?
We've seen them already. We saw them at the beginning of this season,
but like,
not this season. Last season, we saw them. Yeah, we saw loads.
Yeah, but like in the trailer for season 3, like I'm ready for it. Like I'm kind of ready for it. I'm definitely ready.
3 more episodes. I feel like 2 of them can be dealing with all the big Invincible War stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get it dropped at the end of next week's episode. We get some of that.
More Nolan and Alan.
Like, for whatever reason, you and I have dug in on Dinosaurus being one of the things that we really, really want in this show.
Yeah.
So every mention or imagery of dinosaurs, I'm just like, oh, what are they doing? Are they setting it up? So when Titan's daughter is talking about how dinosaurs have feathers and like even T-Rex, I'm just like, oh, are they going to put feathers on Dinosaurus? Are they going to do a redesign of Dinosaurus and make him more accurate? But we have already seen dinosaurs, like talking dinosaurs, in the show when Mark is like being thrown between dimensions. So they could go either way. Like they could redesign him and give him feathers and make him like historically accurate, or they could just go classic bright red.
I feel like feathers would be tough to animate.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Jeremy Kelly thought the same thing though. Jeremy Kelly was with me. Like Dinosaurus is coming. He's got to be coming.
Yeah. I mean, if they're doing a whole episode dedicated to like Titan and Machine Head and Mr. Lou and stuff like that, it's like, come on, we got to do Dinosaurus.
Jeremy, you're in the chat. You've read it more recently than us. How much further is it until Vegas? When does Vegas happen? Is that in like the 70s? Like I feel like we're not that far away from it after
like Dinosaurus was on a bunch of covers. I'm sure it'd be pretty easy to find.
But he's one of these like characters who comes back even after like his big thing. He goes away for a while, but then he comes back and they use him quite a lot. And even near the end, I won't say too much plot wise, but some of the robot stuff, I feel like he's involved there in like that end of.
Oh man, that robot stuff.
Like we're up in the hundreds there, I think. Like in terms of issues.
Is Vegas the reason Mark goes to space?
No, I don't think so.
For a while.
I'm pretty sure that Vegas happens under like the Invincible Inc. time, like in that period, in that sort of era.
I want to go back and read the books, but at the same time, like
Jeremy Kelly thinks
continues
it's the
to surprise me.
Vegas. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe the beginning of season 4.
Yeah, somewhere in there, maybe season 4 would be good.
Maybe
I
Angstrom.
can't believe we've not spent too much time in space yet. We really need to get to space as well, though. Like, I am ready for that.
Yeah,
It feels like there's so much there. But I suppose it is one of those things that, like, when it's a full shift, isn't it? Like when the book goes to space, that we are in space then for a long, long time. We don't really touch back on Earth much. Okay, yeah, Jeremy. I don't know if anyone's watching that. Like, we might not put that one in the chat. We won't bring it up on the stream in case people.
I mean, we know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
everybody, like
if you're watching this show, yeah,
yeah. Like I feel like we've been rooting for Nolan to break out of prison.
Yeah.
Like what else? Where else is he gonna go? You know,
the Coalition of Planets. So, I wanted to say Themyscira, but that's Wonder Woman. I don't know, whatever the planet is called. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I
don't think I think you're fine. We've been talking about Invincible War, and people watching the show have no idea what that is.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
He does miss his wife. Jeremy mentioned
he did mention that.
But he also doesn't feel like he's worthy of going back yet.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes. This episode's it's fairly brief in terms of like it's weird. Like plenty of stuff happens, but like I feel like we cover it pretty quick because it's to say it's inconsequential feels reductive, but it is kind of on the grand scheme of things. It's not.
It's more really character building stuff for Oliver and Mark and Eve.
I'm glad that they've slowed down because it was far too quick for all of that. Like it's like, guys, come on, chill out. Mr. Liu just shooting or being shot in the head is like a brutal way of that happening, and like the fact that it saves Mark is kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really.
Not masses.
Jeremy brings up Paul. Yeah, Paul, not multi-Paul, but Paul.
Paul, like Debbie's date, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we missed. I don't mind it being a short show.
Yeah.
But yeah. You texted me yesterday.
Yeah.
This has to do with Amazon. And I'm really dude, like, listen, like, I don't know if you know me or not, but I'm like a massive James Bond fan, like massive.
Biggest James Bond fan I know, like by a long shot.
James Bond, I would say more than Star Wars. Star Wars has been in my life since I was a kid. And although like I don't have any problems with the Disney era, it's never really like it still feels like Star Wars, but like it feels more disposable. With James Bond, like it's kind of on a constant loop at my place. I feel bad for Stevie because like I think since lockdown I've already watched through them at least 3 times, and there's like 25 movies.
That's a lot.
So in like the last 4 years or 3 years, I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times. That's why Desmond Llewellyn is always my top actor on my Letterboxd wrap up at the end of the year. Usually John Glant. He's in like I think something like he was in all but like 3 of them or something at the time when he died.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's just like I'm just always watching it, and found out yesterday that Amazon has owned MGM for a while now.
Yeah, so when No Time to Die came out, it was sort of like a MGM were producing it, but it was through Amazon, but the Broccoli's still had full control and everything like that. It was like there was a distribution thing more than anything else.
Right. They're always the producers. They are always the owners of the franchise. But yeah, Amazon has MGM. So yesterday it was announced that they are now co-owners of the franchise.
Right. Okay.
But but full creative control is going over to MGM Amazon. When I was making Getting Lost, we shot at the MGM studios for Jack Bender's interview. And Jack Bender had worked on the show From, which is an MGM show. And he's like, they'll let me do it in their offices. I go down to their offices, and the first thing you see when the elevator opens is fucking 007 Daniel Craig there. You go up the elevator, you come out. There's a hallway with giant murals of every single Bond, including George Lazenby. Like the whole fucking place was decorated Bond. The Wi-Fi password was like "No Time to Die" 007 with like specific highlights, like uppercase stuff. So it's like MGM, it's like their big thing.
I mean, it's kind of the only thing that kept MGM as a name around, wasn't it? Like,
right. So, like, I heard the news yesterday, and I was stunned that creative control is going over to Amazon. And I may or may not have cried about it. I'm a grown man, and I probably shouldn't have. But it's one of those things where, like, I love these movies. These movies are help me escape. They when I watch a Star Wars, I tend to analyze it.
Yeah.
And
like for comparison, like I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing and everything when I was reading the news about the Disney sale of Star Wars. Like I remember I'd pulled up, I'd parked up at work, and I was walking to work, and I was just on slashfilm.com on my phone, and I was walking, and I think I nearly got hit by a car because I was like, what the fuck is happening?
But here's the thing with that. Like I remember that too. But the first thing that I thought of was, oh, they're going to make more Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, great. Like, they're going to make episode 7. That was the
I mean, they
thing.
said they're doing 7, 8, 9 plus. Yeah.
Great. In 2009, Paramount decided to make a new Star Trek. I thought, like, Gene Roddenberry wasn't around, I don't think. And it's like, great. That's awesome. I wouldn't mind more Star Wars. I wouldn't mind more Star Trek, I guess, whatever, that were fun. But then it's like, oh, well, here's the show. We're also going to do TV shows. I'm like, oh, cool. A Star Wars TV show. That sounds fun. Like
we've been teased it for years. Like, yeah.
I didn't care for that show.
Still don't.
I say it pretty early on. So I'm like, that's okay.
And we still cover it.
Yeah. Fucking I really don't like Mandalorian. I know I'm positive on the Star Wars show, but this isn't the Star Wars show. I think the Book of Boba Fett fucking sucked. I think the last 2 episodes are like the most boring Star Wars ever. The fact that it was divided into 2 separate weeks, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This Rancor fight is going to go into next week. Fucking whatever.
Yeah, it's one that's definitely soured with it.
Ahsoka, the final episode, I thought was shit. Balin Skull and all those were like not even that. It was like it just like I enjoyed the Acolyte with the exception of fucking Yoda's and being brought into it, and this is like the place where I can like do this stuff.
Go nut, yeah.
If this gets out on live action Star Wars, we're done.
Guys, be cool. Jeremy, watching you, be cool. Luigi Johnny, you too.
Don't tell anybody I'm saying this stuff. That Skeleton Crew was awesome, but that's the thing. It's like now, as of yesterday, I'm in a different mindset than what I was when Disney bought Star Wars, because I was like, oh, great, more Star Wars movies. And Disney is good, about making family entertainment, and they can, like, I love Tron Legacy. At the time, that was like the big thing. I was like, great, perfect. Yeah, sure, let's do Star Wars. And then they got JJ on board. I'm like, great, this is awesome. And it was awesome. And then, like, it's along the way, you're just like, there's just too much of it. So for me, my entire life growing up, every couple years, you'd get a new James Bond movie, and it was a thrill.
Yeah.
But thinking about it now, I'm like, well, there's already a James Bond-esque show on Amazon.
There's a few.
It was
Which
like
one?
No, there was the what was it? The God, I forget what it was called, but it was like Amazing Race.
Oh, Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's a 007 Amazing Race style show.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, that's fun. We're waiting on the next movie. It's, you know, we're in lockdown. They're not talking about Bond 26 yet. And I'm like, that's fine. But getting the news, I'm just like, everyone is just like, fuck. We're going to get a Felix Leiter series. We're going to get a bunch of series that has nothing to do with 007. And I don't want that to happen. And the only thing that's keeping me sane right now is Invincible.
Yeah.
I told Stevie last night, I'm hoping like they have at Amazon right now someone that's the equivalent of the person at Amazon who loves Invincible and got this show put together. I'm hoping that person exists for James Bond.
Yeah. I would also mention The Expanse. They did a really good job. They bought Alcon Entertainment were making The Expanse TV series on FX. Not on FX, on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi dropped it. They cancelled the show after season 3. Amazon bought it. And they bought it in. They bought all the same production crew and team and everyone. They just ported it over.
That's what I need.
And they did 3 more seasons, and they stopped it there. That isn't the full story, but there is a time jump of 30 years between 6 and 7. So the hope is that they're going to do it. They are continue that same team are doing the next adaptation of like the James S.A. Corey other books, newer books. So it feels like they're still cool with everything there. So if again Amazon can treat things with respect when
and
they want,
I'm hoping they can, and I feel like they convinced Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the producers who took over for Cubby Broccoli, Eon Productions, all of that stuff.
Yep.
I'm hoping that's the reason why they finally relinquished control, because I feel like they're getting up in age. And there was like this thread of some
I don't know if it was Saudi necessarily, but it was Middle Eastern. Like there was, it was as recent as last week. I remember reading about it, and it was just like this person's like, "I want Bond. Why you should get like Bond should be mine. I should be able to buy Bond." And then, like, don't worry, I'm not going to kill him or anything like that. And it's like, I don't know who you are. You just seemed like a billionaire who's got all this money and decided that they want to buy this thing. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, I don't have the affinity for Bond that you do, but I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and I feel like with the Broccoli's, they probably talked to Amazon, whoever's in charge at MGM, and we're like, we need to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you guys, we will give control to you guys, but you gotta make sure that it happens the way it should. I need Danny Kleinman hired to do the opening titles. I need Chris Corbold. I need Neil Lamont doing production design. I need David Arnold doing the music. Bring back Adele to do another song. Like it needs to get like bring in Purvis and Wade to do the writing. Who's a Fleabag?
I need. She did some touch up.
Yeah, she did touch ups on the last one.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on her name?
Triple barrel name. Yeah, she's great. Yeah, her. Yep, she's really,
Phoebe
really good. Great. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Thank you very much.
Like she worked on, I think Fleabag's on Amazon. Bring her in again. Wasn't that? I'm pretty sure Fleabag was Amazon.
It was BBC in the UK, so I don't know where you guys.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, there's a family. Keep the family together.
Bond Studios. Just make MGM Bond Studios. Make it a thing like Lucasfilm or something like that.
And let's get Dev Patel as James Bond. That's my pick.
Hell yeah. That is
so here. I don't know if people like, but so here's the thing. Like Danny Boyle was supposed to do Bond 25, No Time to Die. Yeah. It got late into the game, and he was taken off of the project. It sounded like he wanted to do a more traditional, lighthearted James Bond movie.
Okay.
But they wanted to finish out Daniel Craig the way his sort of trajectory was going.
Yeah. Basically, they said Daniel said we'll do one more, so we're gonna do that because he was before that he was ready to go, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I don't think Daniel or who did it was I see Danny Boyle was really interested in the death of Bond. which spoilers that happens. So I'm like, well, bring in Danny Boyle if he wants to do it. Like he's a great director.
Yeah.
He's worked because also people want Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I'm cool with, to be Bond. But Danny Boyle's is now working with like Aaron Taylor Johnson in the 28 years later. Like
the two of them.
Yeah,
the two of those movies,
but then also like he's been in Danny Boyle and Dev Patel have worked together. I think Dev Patel would be fucking perfect.
I love Dev Patel.
I saw him talking about his Mini Cooper that he owns.
Cool.
And I'm like, dude, that's charming, and he's the right age.
He's the right age. He's got big, like since doing like Monkey Man and things like that. He's got bigger. He wants to do action. He's been talking about wanting to be able to get these sorts of roles. That's why he made Monkey Man, is because he wasn't getting these roles. So he's like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. I've been a fan of Dev Patel. I was a bit too old to watch it as it was coming out, but there was a show in the UK called Skins. That's where he starred. He was like him and Nicholas Hoult and a few other people were in that first cast of that. It's like a rolling cast every couple of seasons. And I never watched it, but I caught the odd thing, and he was always a standout in that show. And then to just follow his career all the way through, he's been so good now for so long. He's been well established. We're just watching The Newsroom. Liz had never seen The Newsroom and was interested in that. It's a show that I really like. And he's excellent in that, and he's still just seems like a kid in that show. But
I mean, he's like what, 36, I think.
I think he's my age. I think he's he's either my age or a little bit younger. So I'm
and the last I heard, the Broccoli's were looking for someone in their mid-30s. And I was just like, dude, like let's
pretty sure the Broccoli's had gone on the record and saying like, no, it's still gonna be a white man. And it's just like,
I don't think I've heard that.
Okay. It might have just been like second or third hand news or something that I did see that, but at some point that something had been said about that. Maybe it was in relation to that buyout a couple of weeks ago, like the attempted buyout a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was that person just like, oh, don't worry, it'll still be a white man. And it's like, oh no, we don't need that. Like we really don't need that to be. Dev Patel's inspired. Like that is a great choice. I love that.
Yeah. That'd be my thing. And if it's a white guy, Aaron Taylor Johnson would be great.
Sure. If it has to be,
who's the dude from Bridgerton? Rogerio John. Forget his name. I don't watch Bridgerton. But that dude would be good too. Because people keep saying Henry Cavill's like, fucking, you guys don't understand. Like, they don't get James Bond people that are already like film stars. Sean Connery had like 2 films before he did Dr. No. No one knew George Lazenby. Roger Moore was like the most famous actor before Bond because he was the Saint. Pierce Brosnan, but he was also like a TV guy who had like some movie roles. Same with Timothy Dalton. Like that's kind of level you want. And I know Dev Patel's been around forever, but
never a big starring leading role, like not in a 4-quadrant movie. No, like he's done bigger movies, he's done prestige movies, he's done awards movies, but like for my mum and Paul, like if they saw it and they were like, oh, what do we know him from? It would probably be like Slumdog Millionaire, maybe. Like I don't know, like probably not much else. Like
he's like a little skinny kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my choice, and I don't know if it would happen, but like if you get Danny Boyle on board, it's either going to be one of those 2 guys.
I think Danny Boyle likes to work with the same people all the time. Like if this had all happened 20 years ago, it would have probably been Ewan McGregor. But you know, there's a through line there with the
Clive Owen.
Clive Owen would be a good shout. Yeah.
It was one of those things where, like, I feel like with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where George Lazenby came on, was a big deal because Sean Connery had just left the role. They left the same M, Q, and Moneypenny. They're in the opening scene, so that people are like, "This is still James Bond. These are all the people that are there." So, like, get Ralph Fiennes, get Naomi Harris, get Rory Kinnear, and Ben Whishaw. Like,
they're great.
Bring them back.
Keep them.
Make sure that people know, listen, this is still the family, and then we're good to go. I have hope that someone at Amazon is like, because again, the Broccoli still own half of Bond. They still are part owners. They just relinquish creative control, so they have to have some sort of input. This feels very, very different than Lucas and Disney, whereas Lucas was like,
I'm out.
You can't do anything else.
There was a succession, like he had a succession plan in place. Like they announced that it was all part of it with Kathleen Kennedy and everything like that. But it's like the fact that we haven't had any news immediately
this franchise has been going for over 60 years.
It's
under 4 people. Two of whom died and 2 who are here now.
It pings up on like the BBC News app. You get like big headlines will just pop up no matter what. This was one that yesterday when it popped up, it was like, oh, this is big. Like this is huge. It's not just the biggest British film franchise. It is one of the biggest film franchises of all time. Certainly one of the most longest running. So yeah, it's huge. I don't know where they'll go with it.
Amazon, don't do what you're doing with Invincible and like really like look at what's going on and make it right.
As I think that everyone's got that same fear of there's going to be a James Bond reality show. There's going to be 3 James Bond spin-offs. There's going to be this, that, and the other. Like even something like The Boys, which everyone loves. I've enjoyed bits of it that I've seen, but there's spin-offs and things of that. It's like we don't dilute it.
Give me a movie every 2 years, I'll be happy, and make them good. Use the same people in the family. Maurice Binder did the majority of the opening title sequences from like Dr. No to License to Kill. After that, it was Danny Kleinman, who's done them ever since, like Pierce Brosnan since '95, with the exception of Quantum of Solace. But it's like you have to get these people. You have to get these people who understand what it was like working with the Broccoli's, and so that they can sort of groom the next people. Like if
they're going to go
Danny
one of two
Kleinman
ways
has an assistant, it's like Ben Burt to Matthew Wood.
Yeah.
Like you need those people in there who are still tied to the original thing.
A handoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to go one of two ways with it. They'll either say, no, we're going completely fresh. We want it brand new. We want like to get rid of all of that. That's the fear. Or James
Bond always shifts with the times. It's fine.
Yeah.
But don't go so far where it's like unrecognizable.
Yeah. Like what's his name? Directed GoldenEye. He directed GoldenEye and
Casino Royale.
It's like they are so vastly different. But you know, you get these people that adapt and move with the times, as you said. Like you can do that.
But you gotta have the gun barrel sequence, the cold open.
Oh yeah.
The opening title sequence, and then you know how the formula goes. Like it just goes like Anyway,
you can't mess with that.
I just want Bond 26 to not be a complete fucking piece of shit. But there are shitty James Bond movies, and I'm fine with that. I watch them.
Yeah.
I just watched Die Another Day a couple weeks ago. And it fucking sucks, but it still feels like the same group doing it.
They can't fuck it up with this first at bat though. Like they have to nail it. I feel like everyone, no matter what, following on from what they did and everything with No Time to Die, the pressure was on 26 no matter the situation. But now it's just been ramped up so much. I don't know. I'm ever the optimist, and I've seen I'd be more pissed if it sold to Netflix. But I've seen Amazon be able to put out good content that is like it understands what it's doing. Jeremy Kelly says here like he's the same as you. He doesn't trust Bezos. He's pissed.
Again, Invincible is
Invincible, The Expanse. People love The Boys. People love Reacher, and that's an adaptation of books and things like that. Like there are things in there that are of a higher quality, are good, but there is the fear I think it's the dilution of it that is the worst. Because as you said, you can have a bad Bond movie. I don't think they can have a bad first Bond movie.
No.
But they can have a bad Bond movie down the line. That's okay. People will forgive it.
Yeah.
But like, don't dilute it to the point where it's not special. You always want that feeling that it's special. I'm not the biggest fan, but a new Bond movie is an event. They are always a big thing. It is all the press talk about over here when there's a new Bond movie coming out, and it's like it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I gotta get going.
Yep. We filled out we filled that out, but I hope that it was helpful for you to be able to sort of get it out.
Again, I think Invincible is the one thing that's keeping me going on this.
Great. Normally we'll fill time in Invincipod talking about comics and other nonsense. This time we talked about Bond. Yeah. You never know what you're gonna get on Invincipod.
Yeah. All right.
We'll be back next week to talk to you about the next episode of Invincible. But until then, thank you everybody for joining us and listening to us rant about everything else. And we will see you next week on